Hi again. Kenneth Latourette, page 286 of A History of Christianity, dealing with the coming of the Arabs and Islam. The disintegration of the Roman Empire, which had been seemingly halted by Justinian, was hastened, as we have more than once suggested, by the spectacular eruption of peoples from the southeast, the Arabs, the bearers of a new religion, Islam. Muslims reckon their era as beginning with the Hegira, which is AD 622, but the traditional but erroneous date of Muhammad's flight from Mecca to Medina. Within a century of that year, the Arabs had overrun about half of what had once been the Roman Empire, and were the political masters of approximately half of what might be called Christendom, or the Christian world. The story is a familiar one, but to put it in its proper perspective in the history of Christianity, we must summarize it afresh. Islam owes its birth to Mohammed, whose years were 570 to 632. Deeply and sincerely religious, Mohammed believed himself to be the mouthpiece of God. By his followers, the Muslims, properly Muslims, he is revered as the prophet, and the revelations which they believe to have been given to him by God, whom he called Allah, have been assembled preeminently in the Koran, a book which Muslims hold in fully as high esteem as Christians do the Bible. Muhammad knew much of Judaism and something of Christianity, and was influenced by them both. He honored Jesus as a prophet, but emphatically denied that God could have a son, for this seemed to him to be derogatory to the greatness and uniqueness of God. Here Islam differed, and still differs, basically, from Christianity. It declares that the gulf between God and man is too great to be bridged, while the fundamental conviction of Christianity is that the gulf, although undoubtedly great, has been bridged by God's initiative in Christ, who is both God and man. Some, including especially many Christians in the early Muslim centuries, regarded Islam as a Christian heresy, but Islam is held by its adherents to be a fresh revelation from God, the final religion, and not a reinterpretation of Christianity. The sweep of Islam across much of Western Asia and North Africa and into Europe was facilitated by the power vacuum which had been created by the chronic wars between the Roman and the Persian Empire. On the eve of the Arab invasion, these two realms had recently come through a stage of their hereditary struggle which had exhausted them both. In the second decade of the 7th century, beginning in 611, when they took Antioch, the Persians had torn Syria and Palestine from the Roman Empire and had pillaged Jerusalem, looting and burning churches, killing thousands of Christians, and carrying off what the latter revered as the Holy Cross on which Christ was believed to have suffered. They also captured Alexandria, probably in 618 or 619, and thus put themselves in control of Egypt. They marched through Asia Minor, seized Chalcedon on the Sea of Marmara near the Bosporus, and encamped just opposite Constantinople. In the meantime, Avars and Slavs came in from the north, and one of their raids even broke through the walls of Constantinople. The Persian successes were probably facilitated by the apathy or even hostility of the Mesopotamian Nestorians and the Monophysite Syrians and Egyptians toward the Byzantine rule, identified as that was with the Greeks and Catholic Orthodoxy. Then, in the 620s, by one of the striking reverses of history, the Byzantine Empire, led by the Emperor Heraclius, reasserted its power, bought off the Avars, and in what it deemed a holy war, retook Syria, Palestine, including Jerusalem and its sacred sites, and Egypt, invaded Persia, and extracted a peace, including the Holy Cross, from the demoralized Persians. But the struggle had impoverished and weakened both realms, and had rendered them vulnerable to the new invaders. The Arab advance was spectacular. Muhammad died in 632. He was followed in the leadership of the Muslims by a succession of men who bore the title Caliph, meaning successor, or vice-regent, or vicar of Muhammad. Under the caliphs, the Arabs, although by no means all of these at first accepted Islam, moved into Byzantine, then into Persian territory. In 635, they took Damascus. In 636, all of Syria fell to them. And in 638, after a siege of 2 years, they captured Jerusalem, although the Holy Cross escaped them and was carried to Constantinople. In 641 or 642, Alexandria capitulated, and the Arabs were thus assured of the possession of all Egypt. Their rapid conquests were facilitated not only by the near exhaustion of the Byzantine realm through their recent Persian wars, but also, as had been the Persian advance, by resentment against the imperial efforts to establish Catholic orthodoxy against the prevailing Monophysitism. In Egypt, moreover, the Byzantine forces were poorly organized and ineptly led. By 650, Mesopotamia had been conquered, and the heart of Persia had been overrun. Thus the traditional eastern rival of Roman and Byzantine power was eliminated, only to be replaced by a more dangerous foe. By 650, too, parts of Asia Minor and North Africa were under Arab sway. The Arabs became a naval as well as a land power, occupied part of Cyprus, captured the island of Rhodes, and raided Sicily and southern Italy. In the 670s, they repeatedly attacked Constantinople itself from a nearby base and were beaten off partly through the use of Greek fire, a new invention, the formula of which was a carefully guarded Byzantine secret. In 697, Carthage, the center of Byzantine power in North Africa, fell to the Arabs. For a time, the Berbers in that area proved a knotty problem. But by 715, with the assistance of Berber forces, the Straits of Gibraltar had been passed. Indeed, they have that name from Tariq, the general who commanded the crossing. And the Visigothic rule in Spain had been overthrown. Arab arms were carried across the Pyrenees, and the Muslim call to prayer was heard in southern Gaul. There the Arab-Muslim tide was not halted until 732, when in the Battle of Tours, or Poitiers, the Franks, in a decisive victory, stemmed it and began the slow process of rolling it back. Early in the 8th century, the Arabs penetrated the Punjab in India and far into Central Asia. In 717 and 718, taking advantage of a rapid change of rulers, mutinies, and a near approach to anarchy in the Byzantine Empire, the Arabs again attacked Constantinople, but were repulsed by the able Leo III, the first emperor of the Isaurian line. Near the middle of the 8th century, the Byzantine Empire recovered Cyprus and pushed the Arabs out of Asia Minor. Not for many centuries was the Muslim threat to Constantinople renewed. Yet in the 9th century, Crete was taken, Sicily fell to the Muslims, Muslims established posts on the Italian coast, and Rome was attacked more than once, and at least on one occasion saved itself only by paying a ransom. The Arabs did not remain united politically, and bitter wars among them were frequent. The strongest and most brilliant of the states established by them was that of the Abbasid caliphs, descended from Abbas, uncle of Mohammed, with its capital in Baghdad. We'll put in a link to a video we did on Genesis chapter 16. Ishmael, the birth of Islam and the Arabs. See you soon.